Welcome to Life After the Fire, the preeminent podcast for all things related to having an amazing life after the fire service. My name is Chris Phelps. I'm your host. I'm joined today with retired EMS captain Steve Campana.
Good to see you, Chris.
Welcome, Steve.
Thank you. Good to see you.
So before the lights and cameras came on, Steve and I were reminiscing of all the different ways that our lives kind of paralleled and crossed paths, and all the same people that we've worked with or known or connected with and whatnot. And I don't think we've ever actually maybe been on an actual truck together, saving lives together, but we've definitely been in the same rooms together. So
absolutely.
So welcome. How long you been? Tell us a little bit about your career. How long of a career did you do, and where was it at? And
so it all started.
When did you get out?
It all started when I was a kid. Age 14, I became a police explorer in North Palm. I was there until I was 16.
So here in South Florida.
Here in South Florida, North Palm Beach, the village of North Palm Beach. The village. From there, I went to Juneau at age 16 because you could be a volunteer firefighter at 16 back then. They consolidated with the county, became a county volunteer, then got hired at dispatch after EMT school. EMT school right after high school. Saves ambulance for a short period of time. Back in the golden days behind the Polar Cup.
Good old days.
Good old days. Venus Avenue, I think it was.
4455 Venus
4455
like
Venus Ave. Yeah. Right off Military Trail down there. So I cut my teeth in EMS in Battalion 3 back in the day. From there, I got hired by County Dispatch when I was in the Quonset huts on Belvedere.
Right.
So those were good times in there. I had a lot of great mentors in dispatch. And it was kind of cool because once I got hired by the county on the line, I got to talk to some of those people on the radio that I had worked with.
Yeah.
Also got to calm the guys down and let them know that dispatch isn't at fault all the time, you know?
Yeah.
So from dispatch, I went to medic school. And after medic school, I worked at Intercity for a short period of time doing first response ALS in the Gardens back before
another ambulance,
before Gardens had EMS.
Yep.
So I got to work with some really great people, Sam Eaton, Marvin Hampton, the Gardens guys, you know, Timbo and Keith Reed and Reggie and all those guys. You know, I had a really good time working with them there. And then from there, I got hired by the county in operations.
Yeah.
I spent my time at Battalion 4 for about a year between recruit class and after recruit class. Sammy and I got hired together as non-fire medics. And we had to go to fire school at South Tech. Captain Larry Manley, God rest his soul, kept both Sammy and I at Station 42 when we graduated Recruit Academy. And I went off to Battalion 3.
42 is what, Lake Worth Road?
No, 40. Well, the original 42 was Lake Worth at the Turnpike, now 32.
That's right.
Originally, it used to be 42.
Yeah.
But 42 now is Hagen Ranch Road.
Hagen Ranch Road.
And that's where I don't even know what it was
51
before.
Or 50, something like that.
It was one of those, but that was the original Palm Beach County's training center.
Yeah.
So that's where the Recruit Academy was. That's where my Recruit Academy was. I made my way to Station 33, and that's where I really wanted to be.
Okay.
And that was circa 1992, one paramedic in a station.
What'd they call that station? What was the
Fire Factory?
Fire Factory, yeah.
And back in the day, it was.
Ran a lot of jobs.
Back in the day, we had a lot of fire there.
Yeah.
We had a lot of fire, but, you know, the majority of our job was EMS.
Sure.
One medic on the truck, 18 to 25 calls, 24 hours. Used to joke every day was like you had to take a bite out of the shit sandwich. And just some days the bite was bigger than others, you know?
Yeah.
From there, I went to 23 for a short period of time, 37 when Lantana came into the system.
Okay.
And then I ended up back at 33. And then this amazing chief in our department, Vicky Shepard, saw something in me that I never saw. Now, that whole time that I was in Battalion 3 bouncing around a little bit, I'd also spent 5 years on the SWAT team with the sheriff's office. I was a backup flight medic on the Trauma Hawk. So I was getting to do some really cool stuff at a big department.
Yeah.
Which was the beginning of losing myself.
Okay.
Beginning of it all. But Vicky brought me into the training and safety division, and I really enjoyed doing EMS training. It started out at 50 South Military Trail, the old headquarters. They opened up 405 Pike Road while I was in the training division. So I got to go out to 405 Pike, open that facility, which was just a really great.
That's their new training facility out there by the turnpike.
Yeah, Southern. You
Okay.
You get to see it when you drive down the turnpike.
Yeah.
Can't miss it. And the Benevolent did a really nice job with that huge banner on the side of it.
Yeah.
After that, I was able to make the EMS captain's rank, and from headquarters, I left as an EMS captain. I did a year in the LW at Station 91.
Okay.
Chief Billy Schmidt was my mentor there.
Billy Schmidt, yeah.
Yeah, great guy. And then
we used to run with him when he was at 31.
Great guy. Yeah. And then I got to go out to Belglade for about 5 years. Yeah, he was. He was at 31 for a long time. The original 31.
They're coming back to me.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's like a trip down memory lane.
Yeah,
it's
it
like
is.
a trip down memory lane.
It really is.
And it's good now because I can remember those things. I can remember those things. And yeah, so I was out in Belglade for about 5 years, and just an incredible eye opener out there.
Yeah.
You're running half of the landmass of Palm Beach County with 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 dedicated trucks.
Wow.
One was an either or at the time. The tender had one person on it out at 72.
So not even like 24 people or
no, you'd be running a structure fire and your backup's coming from the coast.
Yeah.
And then, you get banged out to another structure fire at another end. I had Dr. Shepke with me. And we ran a call at the Martin County, Palm Beach County line. And then we ran a call at the Broward County, Palm Beach County line.
Wow.
And he's like, how much longer do we have to go? And I'm like, about 25 minutes.
Yikes.
At 100 miles an hour, and he was like, oh my God. It was an eye opener for me and for all the guys from the coast that came out to work out there, but great group of people that I got to work with out there. I learned a lot about crew resource management out there.
Yeah.
And then I came into 23, and that's where I retired as an EMS captain.
Okay.
Out of the Rock. Did about a decade there. Did my penance.
All right.
And that's kind of where I imploded in my life.
And what was that like, or what was involved there?
So I kind of got lost in myself. I lost my identity completely of who I was as a human being. And I just became this persona of an EMS captain. I was doing really well as an EMS captain. I was teaching a lot for a third-party vendor. And excuse me, I was getting to fly all over the country and sometimes in different parts of the world. I got to teach rooms full of physicians, ACLS, PALS, ITLS. I got to go on cruise ships and teach doctors, and it was just advanced airway. Here I am teaching doctors advanced airway. It was kind of cool stuff. And I got lost in that. I really did. I had a lot of bad calls in my career. I was a black cloud for bad EMS calls. I had 3 double PD traumas or pediatric cardiac arrests. Two of those were from trauma. One was from medical. So I just had a really bad run of calls, and I didn't manage it well. I'm not an expert in mental health. I'm not an expert in addiction services, and I'm not even a subject matter expert anymore in being a firefighter paramedic.
Yeah.
But I've just had all these experiences through my life. So I had a short period of sobriety in my 40s. My late 30s and early 40s, where I got sober. I was just drinking really heavy. I was doing some drugs, but wasn't really heavy into drugs. But I got sober, and I was sober for about 10 years, 8 years working the program and 2 years not. Everything was going good after that for a while, but just for a while because I stopped working the program. So when I got back to in town from out west, I started drinking again. My marriage, in my eyes, wasn't going well. My relationship with my ex was not good. My relationship with my kids, I would have loved to have had a better relationship with them because I have 2 really awesome daughters. And that relationship is getting better. It's being repaired. So I started drinking and drugging basically when I got out on my own. When I separated from my ex, started living on my own, I had no oversight whatsoever. So basically all I did was work and party. I still worked a lot. I wasn't working as much as I was because it was starting to interfere with my drinking. And everybody was starting to see the signs but me.
Yeah.
my family members, my kids, the guys at work, the upper echelons, my boss at my other job. You know, you've had, as I call him, my EMS sensei, Sean Fix, you had on the show. Sean tried to help me. Joel Breyer tried to help me. I had numerous people stopping in, you know, asking how I was doing. And of course, the answer was always, hey, man, I'm fine. I got this. It's all good. I'm just blowing off steam. And one thing led to another, and I pissed positive at work. So I had to go in for 28 days. I went to a facility here in West Palm Beach, an amazing facility that preaches the program of AA. A lot of recovery centers don't work the program.
Okay.
They're a revolving door is basically what they are. And I'm not saying there aren't good treatment centers out there, because there are great treatment centers out there. But the one I went to was very heavily focused on the 12 steps of AA. And I'm thankful for Hanley Hazleton, because they really, you know, got me back on that bicycle, you know, because as soon as I started working the steps, it was just like before. Things started getting better incrementally. I stayed out of work for about 3 months. I thought everything was going great until word got out on the street that I was coming back to work. And there were people that I let down and disappointed, that were upset with the fact that I pissed positive at work. So I let a lot of people down.
Understandably.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And all of this I own. There's the only finger that's ever been pointed has always been the finger at me. I've never pointed or blamed anybody else for the things that I had done. But I worked at getting better. Before I came back to work, there were people that were meeting at headquarters that wanted me terminated, removed from my position, removed from my battalion. But unfortunately, none of those things could be done, because we have this great thing called the bargaining unit. Mm-hmm. So I took my lumps just like everybody else that's pissed positive. You know, I dealt with that recourse, but I stayed in my position and I stayed in my battalion, and it wasn't for any other reason but to prove to myself that I can still be good at this, and I can still do this, and I can show people that broken people can get better. I was sick. I didn't know I was sick,
right?
But I was sick. I got help and started working on myself to get better. And it didn't go well at first. There were people that wouldn't acknowledge my presence in a station, would shut their office doors if I came into their station. On calls, different. On calls, if I barked or whatever as an EMS captain, everybody followed through and acted as professionals. But in the firehouse, I was berated openly in front of rookies. I was told not to come on certain parts of the fire stations. People didn't want me in their common areas. They didn't want me talking to their people. I had a very bad relationship with my chief, my battalion chief, when I first came back. He just slammed the door every time I came into the station and closed his office door. And it took another tragedy within our department for him to realize that, you know, that wasn't the right way to go about handling what had happened with me. Yeah. And that was a very pivotal moment in the last 2 years of my career, because my last 2 years really were great 2 years. He recognized his error, made amends for it. Sure. And we actually ended off on a really great note, doing some really great things in the battalion with training. But I shortly into coming back to work, so I returned to work in January of 18 and wasn't being, received very well. And on April 5th of 2018, I woke up in the morning, turned the TV on, was making my coffee, and I see this guy walking with a backpack and a cowboy hat through Palm Beach County. And I'm, trying to read the subtitles of what it's about. And this guy's he's walking from Key West to Tallahassee to bring awareness to firefighters, death, basically our benefits at death for cancer. Yep. And that man is Tom Hill, other known as Bull. Yep. So, when I saw the white shirts and the white wave walking with him, I was like, whatever. And I went to work. I started making my rounds, and this rookie who had got on the job while I was in rehab during that period of time, got assigned to my battalion. I was making rounds and at a friendly station that openly welcomed me and told me I always had a safe place to go if I needed to. Mm-hmm. And he said, "Hey, Cap, I've been walking with this guy in Broward County. He's walking through Palm Beach County." I'm like, "Yeah, I saw something about that on the news, man. He's walking with the white wave, you know." I was watching Chiefs put on the packs and everybody was smiling.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "I don't think that's for me." And he's like, "I really think you should spend a day with him." You know, and he said he's one of us.
Yeah.
And this gentleman had also at that time openly told me that he was in recovery as well. So I was like, "Nah, forget it." And then finally he says, "Cap, why don't you just shut up and walk with us?" And he said that in the room full of people. Wow. And I wasn't insulted.
And this was a rook.
This was a rook. This is a 3-month rook. And I wasn't insulted. I was, it really motivated me.
Good.
That this guy is that passionate about what's going on. So I said, "I can't do it tomorrow, but I'll do it the day after." So I caught up with him. I actually saw him driving through my hometown in North Palm. Walking through my hometown in North Palm. And I think he slept at Station 18 that night in Jupiter. Or he may have, I don't know if he slept there or if some other people had taken him in for the night. But that morning I met him. And that's actually on April 7th. I have it in my calendar. It just came up. It was April 7th of 18 that I got to meet him. And I walked into the training room at 18 and he was standing there. I'm like, "Hey man, it's an honor to meet you." And he said, "It ain't an honor to meet me. It's an honor to meet these guys." And I fell in love with them.
Yeah.
We walked that day. We got to the county line in Martin County and we went from like 50 people walking to like 20 people walking. And then after lunch, it was like 8 people walking. And I got to have a lot of one-on-one time talking with them. And Bull and I had a lot of commonalities in our careers and in our lives. So I really enjoyed talking to him. So I decided to go walk a little bit more with him and a little bit more. One thing led to another, and I dedicated a full month, almost a full month of walking with him. From the time he got to the other side of Orlando to the time we got to Tallahassee, I was with Bull full time. After that, I got to walk the state of Kentucky with him. And then most recently, 2 years ago, we walked the state of Georgia. We walked the Florida-Georgia border, Highway 17.
Yeah.
And we walked 17 all the way to Savannah, across the Talmadge Bridge, which was really cool. And then from the Talmadge Bridge, we walked to Charleston.
Wow.
Because at that time, the Charleston 9, the city was defunding the new memorial that they were going to build. So we were going to try to bring a little bit of awareness to that.
Wow.
And that really rejuvenated my love for the fire service, and that there truly is a brotherhood. You know, there's always going to be those that don't understand addiction. There's always going to be those that don't understand mental health issues. And I get it. I do, because it hasn't affected them in their lives. But Joe Breyer always told me something that I always held on to. And it's, you know, someday something's going to happen in their lives and they're going to understand and they'll come around. They will. And slowly but surely, most of those people that shunned me when I came back to work have slowly reached out to me, you know, and said, "Hey man, my family member's going through this, you know, can you help me with this? And I'm so sorry about the way that I treated you, but I know you know about this. Can you help me?" And of course I'm going to, because that's got to be part of my program.
Yeah.
You know, I can't hold any grudges. I can't hold any resentments. I can't ruminate. I can't let the story play over in my mind over and over and over again, because that's how I got to that deep, dark hole. Mm-hmm. So my plan was, you know, things were going great in the battalion towards the end of my career. My divorce was final. It did happen. It was amicable. We have kids, you know, we're adults and we're going to act like adults. Mm-hmm. The divorce was final. My kids, one kid was in school in New York City, and the other one, after graduating FSU, go Knowles, she moved up there to live with her in Brooklyn. So I had the 2 kids living together in New York. I have family there that was there for them if they needed them. So I felt very good about that. So my plan was going to be 14 months. I'd bought a new RV. I had one at the time. I upgraded to a 2-year-old one, a larger one with a washer dryer, a full-size kitchen, a king-size bed, all the amenities. And my plan was just going to be to retire and
get you the motorhome and fishing pole,
and that's it. Motorhome, a fishing pole, which way's the wind blowing, and just check the world out, see how that goes. And there's an old saying, man plans and God laughs, and that's exactly what happened. I got an overtime shift out in Belglade, got to see my old crew. I really wasn't happy about going out there because it was like I was working all my overtime at my station. It was just nice being one of the senior EMS captains in the battalion. But on this particular day, everybody that I called and asked, because I wasn't the guy that would just say, I'm working here that day. I called and asked them, hey man, can I get back to 23? And everybody had something going on. So I went out to Belglade and I walked into Lakeside Hospital because it's boring out there when you work out there now.
Right.
But when the shit does happen, it happens.
Yeah.
I walked into Lakeside Hospital and this beautiful woman started walking my way, and I kind of smiled and got introduced to her a little bit later in the ER. And I had just gotten done with my first finger thoracotomy, and I was so happy because I wanted to get one of those in before I retired. And I got some blood on my shirt, and I went into the ER to clean it up. And she was very attentive. She helped me. And 3 days later, we went on a date. 3 months later, we moved in with each other. And a year after that, we married.
Wow.
And I finally found somebody that gets me. And, she has no clue. Like, I'm sure that if I was dating somebody that was close to the fire service, they would be like, do you know him?
Yeah.
Do you know what he's about? Do you know what he's done? Do you know how he treats people? Because I wasn't the greatest leader.
Yeah.
I had very poor leadership skills. I just knew how to do things, and I knew what had to be done before most people knew what had to be done. And I was able to do things that some other people weren't able to do. So she doesn't know the old Steve. She just knows this guy that, that's evolved through the program of AA and working with different groups with PTS. And we have this fairy tale life. We truly have this fairy tale life. It's, she's an amazing woman. We're the same age. She is a retired New York City medic.
Oh, wow.
She was there for 9/11. She was 2 blocks away when the second tower fell. She got called into work. She was at home. It was her day off that day. Her car got towed on the road because they were clearing roads for EMS. When she found her car, it had like that much, ash on it. And, she's dealing with some issues from 9/11 as well. But a couple of years after that, she decided to come to Florida. So she understands, like, when I came home from a 24 or a 48, that I was nonverbal. She got that. She understood that. She'd feed me, told me to take a shower, go take a nap. And she's just this most incredible woman. She cooks, she cleans, she's beautiful. She's got a wonderful family. Her extended family is absolutely a wonderful group of people to be around. They're happy people. They're good people. Her mom is here in Lake Worth. She's an only child to her mom, so she helps take care of her mom as well. My mom's 87. I get to be part of that now. So in retirement, I'm so thankful for that little implosion that I had in 2017 because it set me up for retirement. So she agreed to retire with me when I retired.
Oh, wow.
But she asked if she could go to nursing school because it's been a childhood dream of hers.
Hmm.
So now we're here for 2 years where we could have been traveling or, going somewhere, doing something. So we're here for 2 years. And that's when I decided to do the real estate thing. And I've had my real estate license for 7-8 months and I never activated it with a brokerage. But this girl that I've been doing yoga with for about 10 or 11 years, her name's Jamie Muckler. We had connected at yoga one day and I was like, hey, I heard you got your own brokerage. Congratulations. She's like, I heard you got your license, congratulations. She goes, where are you working? I'm like, I haven't done anything with it. And she just, with a smile, she said, well, why don't you come work with me? I'm like, you know what, maybe I'll do that. So, I just had her put my license under her brokerage, activate it. And, I'm going to work as a referral agent now, but I'll slowly learn the business. Yeah. Slowly learn it. So life after the fire service, is great. It's better than anybody could have ever laid it out for me to be, because I really thought that, when I lost that identity of who I was, that a lot of people expect me to crash and burn. the gentleman you had on yesterday, Uncle Larry.
Uh-huh.
Uncle Larry looked across from me at the table at 36 and he goes, "What are you going to do at retirement?" He goes, "'Cause I'm worried about you."
Wow.
You know, and I was like, "Well, I don't have a plan, Uncle Larry. You know, I really don't.
Yeah.
But I know I'm going to travel and I know I'm going to stay close to the program AA and I got my understanding. So it's just been great, you know, that I get to do all these things that I've never done before because I was so focused on work. You know, I get to, you know, have, even though it's a telephone or a FaceTime relationship with my kids, you know, I see them a couple times a year for the holidays. And sometimes I'm going up for my daughter's graduation next month from school in New York City.
Where'd she go to school?
School of the Visual Arts, SVA, in downtown.
Okay.
They both live in Brooklyn. They lived together for 3 years, and now they live separately in Brooklyn, in a little town area called Bushwick. And when they told me they were moving to Bushwick, I looked at them with 4 heads, like, what? And they're like, "It's not that Bushwick, Dad. It's not the one you knew growing up." And it isn't. It's just been all gentrified.
My daughter wanted to go. She got accepted to school up there. She wanted to go to. I can't even think of the name right now because she wound up committing to go to Ole Miss. So luckily it's like,
oh wow.
I don't even have to think about it anymore. But
yeah,
she was really excited to wanting to go to New York. We're big Yankee fans.
Awesome.
So, but anyway,
yeah, the girls got to do the whole 2 years of COVID up there. They went through that whole nightmare. My daughter took a gap year in college because it's art school, and if you can't go into school, you can't use the studio, you can't check out a $5,000 camera or use a $20,000 studio. What's the point of going to art school, right?
Yeah.
So she took a gap year and she worked. She worked somewhat in her field, and she also waitressed. And my oldest is doing great up there as well.
Good.
So really happy for them.
So the only reason you've gotten to the point of having a life after the fire is because you realized or recognized that you had an issue, and through the grace of God found the right help and have gotten to the other side of it.
Absolutely. And I didn't realize it. It wasn't me. It was those around me.
So it was a combination of substance abuse you think it was as a result of mental health?
I definitely think that,
or the two were just,
I think
in the right place at the right time.
Yeah. The right place at the right time. You know, when your mental health isn't well, it's going to let you lead yourself down paths that you normally would not go down.
As a coping mechanism.
Exactly. Now, I never drank on duty. I never did drugs on duty.
Right.
But you know, there were times where I was drinking too much before I had to go to work. And as soon as I got off of work, I would start drinking. Mm-hmm. But yeah, absolutely. You know, through the administration, basically, you know, had enough of it.
Yeah.
They just didn't know what to do with me.
Well, I think you're very fortunate that you were given the opportunity to seek help and seek treatment, and that it had a positive outcome.
Absolutely.
I don't think that's as common with a lot of departments. So you're very fortunate there, and I think for our 10 listeners, or 11 now, I think we are like
awesome.
Now. For our listeners, anybody else that might be going through something like this, as kind of like a call to action, like what would you recommend for them as some first steps of, obviously, recognizing that they're having their own issues. What would you recommend? So
I know a lot of departments have different programs within their departments, like EAP. I'm not a big fan of EAP, although there are very good counselors in EAP, and I was lucky enough to get one. There are some that are just, when you're telling your story to a counselor and they start crying, how does it make you feel about your counselor? So some just don't understand. They have no concept of what we go through. Mm-hmm. And some don't have any history with alcoholism or addiction. So there are those programs, and some of your departments may require you to go through those programs.
Sure.
But also reaching out to those that have been down that road. Mm-hmm. There's an old story about a guy stuck in a hole in a street. First guy walks by, he's a businessman. The man cries out, hey, help me. And he goes, you know what? I'm going to go back to my job and I'm going to start a focus group. We're going to make a plan, blah, 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 blah. I'll be back. And the next guy walks by and it just so happens it's a fireman. And he's like, hey man, help me. He goes, well, I'm going to go back to the station, but the guys are out right now. And when they get back, I'm going to get a ladder and we'll put a ladder down there and we'll get you out. Third guy walks by and he says the same thing. Can you help me? And the guy jumps down into the hole. Now the guy that's stranded is looking at him like, he goes, what are you doing? We're both stuck here. He goes, yeah, but I've been here before. I know the way out. So finding somebody that's been through that, that can help you get involved with a program that works for you. For me, it's AA.
Yeah.
I also belong to this really cool group of guys. I'll be leaving here to go to see them.
Yeah.
It's a group of guys that suffer from all different kinds of things, but we all have PTS. And we're all looking to get better and to be better people. So there's treatment centers. If you're a firefighter, there's the Center of Excellence. If you've been a firefighter anywhere at any time, the Center of Excellence, a paid firefighter, the Center of Excellence will take you, no questions asked. Certain departments have contracts with facilities to help you get help. And you're no less of a human being for doing that. In fact, you're going to become a strong human being in doing that. You're going to learn more about yourself if you give yourself to the program. You're going to learn more about a connection with a higher power that got you out of where you were. But I think really finding somebody that's been through it that can help you through the process is a big part of it. EAP, treatment facilities, they're all like, I call it the piece of the pizza, right? People like to have these graphs. I'm a food guy. So it's all about a piece of pizza. It's all about a circle of pizza, right? And that pizza isn't whole unless all the slices are there. So for me, one slice is my downtime at home in my happy place with my wife. That's a slice of it. Yoga is a slice of it. AA is a slice of it. My PTSD group is a slice of it. And I have all these different slices that make up a pie. So there isn't just one like magic bullet panacea that fixes it all. It takes a lot of work to get back to being the person that, you used to be. And I've never been this person that I am today. I never got a chance to look down into my soul. And by the grace of God, I had that opportunity.
That's great. So for our listeners, if what you're hearing sounds like something that you might be going through, what would be a great way for people to reach out to you to maybe
561-767-0618. That's my phone number. Feel free to call. My phone is on 24/7. I take calls from all kinds of people that need help. And then my full name, Stephen Campana at att.net is my email. You can hit me up on Facebook, EMS Cap 23 retired on Instagram. You can message me and I'll be happy to talk to you and get you in touch with the professionals.
I appreciate you doing that.
No worries.
For our listeners, if you like what you're hearing, like, follow, and share. Get a hold of us at info@latfpodcast.com, info@latfpodcast.com. We'll see you on the next one.